guys, it's Amanda here, your kitty of Carnage.
And I'm Jess KORESH, and welcome to Channel Sundown.
Today, guys, we are doing a review. We are a little behind, but we just got back from seeing Joker. We just finally saw it. We're a little behind, but we finally did it. Yes.
We did it.
We did it. 2019's Joker was written and directed by Todd Phillips, and Scott Silver co-wrote it too as well. You guys might know Todd Phillips. He was an Academy Award nominee for Borat, and he also for original screenplay, and he wrote the Hangover trilogy. So yeah, so he's really big hand on comedies, and this is his horror crime drama. Anyways, it's a whole category in itself, right. But yes, it is not a comedy, so we'll just say that it is not a hangover film at all. The cast includes, of course, Joaquin Phoenix, who plays Arthur Fleck, A. Fleck, hi. Everybody's like, A. Fleck, hi. But yes, he plays Arthur Fleck. And Frances Conroy, he plays Penny Fleck. So they have a bunch of Flecks. Penny Fleck, who is Arthur Fleck's, Joaquin Phoenix's mother. Zazie Beetz, who plays Sophie, and you guys might know her from Deadpool 2. She is also in Atlanta. You guys know I love Atlanta, so yeah.
I was gonna say you were in the bathroom, but the other guy from Atlanta was in it too. He was the clerk at Arkham Asylum, the rapper in Atlanta, the main guy.
Really?
I forgot. I can't think of his name right now.
Oh wow, guys! I missed a millisecond of the film because I ran out to use the bathroom real quick, and of course, I missed him. So there's that. And of course, guys, we cannot forget Robert De Niro, who plays Murphy Frank, the Tonight Show host guy in the trailer. Yeah, he is in this movie. Robert De Niro is in this movie.
The legendary Robert De Niro.
There you go, the legendary Robert De Niro. First thing is first, before we start talking about this film per se, this is a non-spoiler review, first off. Secondly, this is an original story, guys. So anybody that thinks there's a lot of influence to the Batman trilogy or whatnot, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it right now. This is an original story. So there is no connection to the previous Batman films or Suicide Squad or any of that. There's none of that connections. So
Thank
sorry.
God.
Yeah, so sorry guys if you're looking into that, because when we actually went to go see the film, they showed a trailer for Birds of Prey. So I thought it was kind of funny how they did that with the Joker influence in Suicide Squad, and then they did it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Anyways, guys, this is an original story. So when you go into the story, it's basically about this guy named Arthur Fleck, and he's a professional clown, and the story takes place in the 80s. This is a very 80s film atmosphere and everything, and it's about this guy named Arthur Fleck who lives with his mentally and physically disabled mother, and he cares for her, what have you, and it basically looks into him as a person, and he is somewhat interesting, we'll just say that. And you go in, and it's, like we said, it's an origin film of the man itself, of Arthur Fleck, and it's really funny because whenever I first heard of the film coming out, everybody was like, the Joker's name is Arthur Fleck, A. Fleck. And y'all know Affleck, Batman. So you gotta look at the irony in that. So anyways, so the story goes in, he's living with his mother. He's a professional clown, but he's also dabbling into stand-up comedy. And he has a neighbor who lives in the building. Like I said, he lives with his mother. And he has a neighbor in the building, Sophie, and he kind of has a connection with her. And without getting into spoilers, like we said, this is a spoiler-free review. Things for Mr. Arthur get very discombobulated, and a lot of things happen that are very, how we say, inconvenient. And it kind of causes it's so hard to talk about this film without spoiling, guys. Like, really. Like, it has a kind of a colliding, like, things just kind of, like, come together, and it just causes kind of, like, a shrinking kind of, you know, anxiety, I guess, with the character. And another thing about it is, in the film, he suffers from this kind of laughing disorder, where he laughs at very inconvenient times. So all that kind of goes into it without spoiling too much. Like I said, I'll repeat that a lot. But a lot of things happen, and it's kind of like, what's that, when, like, the mountain has a avalanche. It's just an avalanche. An avalanche of just things inconveniently basically just falling on top of him, and him having to overcome and having to deal with situations. And he has an interesting way of dealing. And things happen and occur due to circumstances. So that's the best thing I'm going to say.
I don't think this would be a spoiler to say that this documents his descent into madness.
Yes.
I think that's pretty obvious from, you know, anybody that knows the Joker, and this is an origin story, anybody that's even seen the trailers. It's definitely a descent into madness kind of tale.
So we'll go ahead and start off with the acting. I have a lot of opinions of the acting. I really am going to say this, and I don't know, a million people all have said this. The acting was very, very, what's the word?
Incredible?
Impressive. That's the word I'm looking for, impressive. I was very impressed with everything, with the acting. I'm going to say Joaquin Phoenix worked the character. And I was actually really nervous with the acting, because I was actually nervous about seeing the film. I thought it was going to be too Joker-esque. Like, it would be too, like, you know, ha 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 ha, trip, fall, ha ha. Like, but the way the character of the basically collide of madness and just of, you know, because it's a realistic character in a realistic of the way of, it's not realistic because he's not a normal character. So the acting was really good, and and you can ask this guy, I literally was like I was kind of, there's a few scenes, like I said, we're not going to get a spoiler, but I was very impressed with the acting, indeed.
I would be shocked if he does not win an Academy Award for this role. And that's, and considering that this is a comic book film, that really says something. But I'll leave it at that. I love Joaquin Phoenix. He's one of my favorite actors. I had high expectations for him in this role. As soon as they announced that he'd be doing it, I was like, that's perfect. And he really, I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, I was really blown away by his character, and I think he just nailed it. And like I said, I'd be really surprised if he's not at least nominated for an Academy Award.
That was going to be one of my points later, is I was going to say he needs to be nominated. He needs to be, because it was, I'm sorry, but I think he was fantastic. And another person that I doubt will be nominated, but Robert De Niro. Like, he, like, without getting into it, he didn't really have a big role, but I was really impressed because it was Robert De Niro, but he wasn't Robert De Niro. He wasn't you know, he wasn't cool. He was a host of a late night talk show. He was somebody entirely not Robert De Niro, and it just reminded me a lot. And I'm going to jump into that with my pros and my cons. I have a lot into that. But as far as the acting, I'm going to stay put in the acting. The acting was really good. I was really impressed, and it was very entertainingly absurd. I don't know if that sounds as positive as I made it, but it was insane, but I was very impressed, and I was really happy with the acting. So yeah, that's how I feel about the acting.
Well, I want to say about Robert De Niro, because a lot of people give him, like, especially over the last 20 years or so, people have given him a lot of flack for kind of phoning it in. I don't know if you read that, but a lot of people say, oh, Robert De Niro was just phoning it in on this one. And I really didn't feel like he was doing that in this movie. It reminded me of the stuff that he did in the 70s and 80s, and I think we're going to talk about that in another review. But it was kind of like seeing that old Robert De Niro. Like, maybe he was actually kind of passionate about this role and really connected to it. But yeah, it was the first time in a long time that I've really enjoyed a Robert De Niro performance.
Exactly. I agree.
So far, we agree on a lot.
I was just about to say that before you said that. I'm like, wow, we're actually agreeing.
Will this be
film.
the movie that we both agree on?
Stay tuned. We'll see. Y'all wait for the spoiler discussion. We'll see how long we're friends. And here it is. Our pros and our cons. And since I'm talking a lot, Jesse, I'm going to take a little break for a minute and have you start off with your pros of the film.
My pros. I like that DC is finally kind of getting it together and decided to do a standalone movie. I think that was a great decision on their part that they decided to do something that wasn't connected to the other movies, and they took a chance, and I think it really worked. It's a very original it's an original movie. It's an original story. It's something that you haven't seen from DC before. I'm glad that Todd Phillips took a chance and did a serious movie, because everybody's kind of like, oh, Todd Phillips, The Hangover and all that. But I mean, a lot of, let me just say this, a lot of chances were taken with this movie, and I feel like they all paid off. The acting was great. The story was great. It wasn't your typical superhero, supervillain movie, and it worked. They did it. They pulled it off.
Well, my standpoint of the pros is I was actually really happy and really pleased with the pacing of the film, because although it wasn't, people that are going into the film, and I'm just going to say it, people that are watching the film who are big Batman fans, who are really big into, you know, the DC and everything, are probably going to be like, the movie was kind of slow and stuff, but it really wasn't that. It paced it correctly. And like I said, it's kind of like one of those things I don't want to get into and give too much away. But when things were paceful and kind of slow, gravitating to something, it was basically getting to a point of the film that kind of just smacked you. And you were just like, oh shit. Because I'm not going to lie, I was watching the movie, and you can ask this guy, there's parts I was like leaned over here and I was like, and he's like, are you cool? Because I literally covered my eyes. I was like, oh. And I was like, and that's another thing too, is that like there's a lot of films that you know what's going to happen, and you kind of sensed it. There was a lot of films, there's a lot of parts in the film that I saw and I knew it was happening, and I did this. And I was like whispering to myself. I was like, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, it's going to happen. And then it happened. I was like, oh, yeah. Like, it was very, very on edge. And yeah, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, why is ChannelSundown reviewing this film? Because it's not horror. There's nothing scarier than mental illness and the mind itself. And I'm going to get onto that with my verdict, because I have a lot to say in my verdict. But I have a lot more to say in my spoiler discussion, so y'all stay tuned, because we are going to have a full-blown spoiler discussion. I have a lot more to say. But as of right now, like, my pros are going to be the pacing of the story and how it did that on purpose, and how it kind of made the climax that much more. Because it wasn't like boom, 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 boom. It was kind of like here, here, and there. So that, I don't know if that made any sense what I just said, but it made sense up here. And that's what matters. So yeah, so those are my pros for that.
I just want to say that, you know, we see a lot of movies in the theaters, and what it reminded me of, because of the pacing and the story, and people were so drawn into it, it was almost like when I went to see A Quiet Place, because people were actually like, there were quiet moments in the movie, and people were actually being quiet because they were paying so much attention to this movie. It like really grabbed people's attention, and I feel like it really drew people into it. The story did. So that's a pro.
I agree, and that was another thing that I was gonna say during my verdict. I'm going to say it now. a lot of people, I'm going to tell you this. This is not a comic book movie. Okay? So everybody that brought their kids to the theater today. Yeah, a lady showed up with her kids to see Joker, and that was, let's say it this way, the parts that was quiet, the only thing you heard is there's a little, like, kids in the front, they're like, I want to be here, and, like, she walked out with her kids, I was like, yeah, this isn't a Batman movie, like, this isn't a saves the day movie, so, yeah, that was pretty interesting, because I think everybody was expecting, like, you know, it to be something different, and yeah, so.
Yep. Do you have cons?
Oh gosh.
Well, you have a lot of cons. Let me say my cons first, then, because I don't have that many.
Okay.
The only cons that I have are, and you may not even be that aware of it because you're not like a comic book nerd, but there were some small mentions. I won't give them away, but there were some small references to other things in the comics.
He'll give it away in the spoilers, so y'all wait.
Like the Batman comics. And this movie stood alone so well on its own that I found that kind of distracting. You know,
I do know when you're talking about.
Yeah. There's one thing in particular that we'll talk about in the other one, but if you think about it too much, it really doesn't make any sense at all why they did this, why they did that in the movie. So that's my main con, because I did use some other characters that it made sense for them to be in the movie, or make reference. But there's one in particular that if you think about it too much, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. But that's my only con. Because I liked it so much as a standalone movie, I didn't think it needed any kind of connections at all to other. But I mean, I see why they did that. For the, it's for the fans, like they'll be like, oh, I get that, But I don't feel like it needed it.
You're gonna actually be really shocked about this, but I don't really have that many cons. I do have a few cons. One of my cons was actually gonna be what you just said. There was a few, and see, we're going to get into it, guys, because we're going to have a spoiler discussion. But there was a few scenes I kind of were really pleasantly surprised, yet was kind of at the same time like, why? At the same time. So it was kind of like we said, we decided to have a spoiler video because we knew that a lot of us talking about this, we were going to be like, it's going to be very vague. Because we're not spoiling anything. But that scene that we'll talk about, like we mentioned, like you're kind of like, huh, and kind of like, huh. So my cons would have to be the senseless plugs, I think. Like you said, the senseless kind of like, hey, guys, remember? Like, and you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, but then again, there was a few pros that I was like, oh, wow, that's interesting how that's connected, but at the same point, why? So it's kind of like hit or miss, but then again, you're either happy or not happy about it, but it's a pro-con kind of thing. So my con would have to be kind of maybe I see it so much as a con because, like I said, I'm not really into the, not franchise of the films, but kind of like I'm not into the comic books. So I'm not really into it that much because I don't know the deep story per se, like the comic books. But at the same time, when I saw the film, I was kind of like, why? And I feel like they used, well, no, I take that back, because I'm like, I wish they would have dived more into things, but at the same point, that's what made the character so interesting, is the questions and not knowing. So I would have liked to have more information, but at the same point, it's better that you don't know the full story. So I'm gonna X that con out. So my only con is the kind of like it was kind of, I felt like there were some points, it was like they were getting keys and they're like, hey, over here, you remember, hey, you know who else is in Gotham City? Like, I get it. Like, I get it.
They were dangling the decent carrot in front of your face.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, hey, they're in Gotham City. You remember Gotham? Like, yes, we're very aware of Gotham. Thank you. But there was one point that I was like, when I nudged you, I was like, and I, of course, I'm not going to spoil it, but I was like, oh, that's going to happen. And it happened. I was like, oh, that's so crazy. Because I literally went like this, and he went, yes, Amanda, I know. He literally went, I know, like, shush. And I'm like, it's gonna happen. Anyways, yeah, so done with that. So that was my only con, is the keys in my face, you know. But then again, you know, I like keys, so keys are shiny, so hey.
I feel like this video has been your descent into madness. What the hell are you talking about?
I do what I can.
No more Joker for you.
Okay, guys, here it is. Our verdict of the Joker. What do we think of it? I would like to know, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll go first because I probably have a lot less to say than you do. You might be surprised, but I loved it. I love this movie. It was great. It was everything I wanted. It got my attention. The acting was great. The music was good. Like, everything about this movie, it looked great. The sound, the joke. Joaquin Phoenix's laugh. Oh my God, he like really nailed that Joker, that creepy kind of Joker laugh. I liked the whole subplot thing of it being like a disorder that he had, because that really made it, you know, that really brought it home and made it relatable. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I had high expectations, and it met my expectations. So far, one of my favorite movies of the year. What are you making that weird face for?
Well, I don't think you're gonna believe me if I tell you what I think. So, my verdict...
There's no way you didn't like this movie. There's no way.
Alright, The Joker is like my favorite movie of 2019. I am not gonna lie. That movie had me like, oh my God. Like, I'm not, like, The Joker is like, I'm probably, like, I don't know. I'm not really into comic books or what have you, but this film is so damn good. Like, you guys have no idea. Like, they captured and I'm not trying to make this, like, I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all, after we saw the movie, he had errands they had to run and stuff, and I was like, okay, we're gonna meet up and we're gonna film the review. I called my mom, and I sat there with my mom, and I just told her, I was like, oh my God, this movie's so good, because, not trying to make it about me, but there's a lot of things going on with me personally, and I'm suffering from some health things, and I loved how they, and a lot of people are going to be like, huh? But I don't know if I'm really relaying this correctly, but they captured mental illness in the correct way. Okay, I'm not saying everybody with mental illness is like gonna like go around, and I'm not gonna say what he does, but go around, they do something, but it shows a progression to madness. It shows society in a whole. And the scene with him sitting there, and the scene where he's sitting there, Robert De Niro, and he's just laying it out, you just sit there and you never heard madness make more damn sense. And it kind of like grabs you, because you're like, oh man, like, am I crazy? Like, am I seeing, like, you kind of sympathize, and what he says makes sense in a weird level. And I'm sorry, everyone's gonna be like, Amanda, you think he's great? I'm not saying everybody should riot and everybody should paint their faces and go out and do bad things, but I'm just saying it kind of took the realism within the situation. And I'm not saying I'm like the Joker, but I kind of saw things with my, because I have a TBI, I suffer from a brain injury, and although I don't laugh uncontrollably at things, sometimes, but I don't have an extension to a lot of things that he has, and that's another thing. We're not going to spoil it, of course, guys. I know I keep repeating that, but you come and you find realizations about, you find out things about the character, and things start making more sense. You're like, oh damn, like this, and they kind of switch things, and they kind of pull things. So this movie was damn great. I love this movie, like, so much. And it's not like we said, it's not like a slasher horror film, but this film is terrifying. It's terrifying. It really is. And I think it is, because there's nothing scarier than the mind. There's nothing scarier than the chaos and the thought process and of just, you know, anarchy and, you know, society and depression and anxiety and everything kind of just comes together. And anyways, so that's my point. I love the Joker. It's one of my favorites I've seen this year. And people are gonna be like, what the hell, Amanda? But I liked it more than It Chapter 2. So I loved it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I love Joker. So yeah, there's, you know, I'm just gonna say, I don't mean to be mean, but Dr. Sleep has a lot of work to do. So we'll see. I've been looking forward to Dr. Sleep, and I really love Joker. So come on, Dr. Sleep. We'll see what you'll do.
I think they've already wrapped it up. So
Yeah, I know. I'm just hyping it up. But anyways, yeah. So that was my verdict.
Well, I've got two things I want to say because I want to point what you just said. Not counterpoint, because I'm agree with you, so it's going to be point. It does deal with mental illness very well, not only from the standpoint of someone who's suffering from mental illness, but the way that society looks at and deals with people with mental illness. It really did a great job doing that, and I think I don't think people really expected that from this comic book movie. And the other thing I'm going to say is the fact that you're not into comic book movies, but you loved this movie, just tells you what a great movie it was, because you don't have to be a comic book fan to like this movie, and that's the way they should be. You shouldn't have to be into comic books to appreciate a good movie. You know, it's just a good movie. It's a great movie, and so I think the fact that you really liked it and you're not really into comics or the Joker or what, you know, any of that kind of stuff, I think that says a lot about the movie.
And one thing I love the most about it is it wasn't at all a comic book movie at all by any means. Like, there was no, like, you know, flash, you know, and even like the character of Arthur Fleck, like the Joker, you know, he goes, you know, the Joker, he is not the Joker that he is in the comic books. He's not, you know, he is mad, but he is not this, you know, crazy, like, strong, gun-happy, like, proud of himself guy. He's this emotionally scarred, beaten down person who deceits into madness. And that kind of shows you, like I said, don't want to repeat myself, there's nothing more dangerous than a person who doesn't give a damn, who has nothing left to lose, and just doesn't care anymore. And the thought process that he just goes through, he's just like, huh, and the things he does, and it's just so terrifying. Scarier than anybody with a chainsaw or anything. It's just the loss of just not giving a damn. Like, just doesn't give a damn. And like, even scenes that are just downright, like, we'll get into our spoiler discussion, but there's a scene where, you know, things happen and he dances and he laughs, and you kind of get to a point where you're just like, he's not enjoying what's happening, he's absent to what's going on, and he doesn't care. So it's not like, you know, oh, people are dying, yay. It's more like, people are dying, but I'm dancing. So his mind is into that aspect of his thought, that he is you know, he's dissed into reality. He is disassociated with what's going on with him. So yeah. Anyways, so I don't mean to ramble on, but yeah.
But you will.
Sorry.
There's your snorting disorder.
I know.
We're gonna call it the snorter.
I'll start painting my face. I do.
You already
paint
do. I know, because I have to wait for like 30 minutes before we can start filming because you're painting your face.
Oh, man. True story. Okay, guys. Well, that concludes our Joker non-spoiler review. Yes. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree? Do you guys disagree? Did we leave anything out? Guys, before you tell us what we forgot, stay tuned, because we are doing a non-spoiler discussion where we unplant all those seeds and we talk about everything that's in the soil. Yes.
non-spoiler discussion, but we're going to be doing. This was the non-spoiler discussion. We're going to be doing a spoiler. We're going to do another. She has so much to say that we're going to do a second non-spoiler discussion video.
I meant spoiler discussion. Sorry, guys. So stay tuned for the spoiler discussion because we are going to. I'm going to say everything I just said. I don't remember anything I just said, but we're going to unplant these seeds and discuss the seeds that we planted.
We're going to spoil it like it's old buttermilk.
But if there's anything you guys want to add to this review, let us know. Comment below. Yes. I want you to go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Yes, like and subscribe because we seek approval. Yes. Even though I don't care. I'm like
Run DMC stance.
I don't care. I'm anarchist. Well, I can't. And they'll start painting my face and shit. Alright, guys. Until next time. Bye.
I can't do the Vulcan thing. Screw it. Of course you can. Your dad's a Trekkie.
True story.